and I'll pass it off to Ellie.
Hey everybody, welcome. So we'll start with some introductions. Great to meet everybody on the call. My name is Ellie Green. I am a social enterprise consultant, also faculty at Georgian. I've been a part of leading SENCO, which is the Social Enterprise Network of Central Ontario at Georgian. And I'm currently in the role of advisor and facilitator for that initiative. And also working on another project, Georgian is in partnership with Ashoka Canada as a consultant. And then before that, I was Georgian Senko's manager. I also had the opportunity to work as a social enterprise developer for an amazing nonprofit organization in Toronto called Sketch Working Arts. And as a social entrepreneur, I founded and ran a company called Clothing Brand Experiment. And I have an amazing co-facilitator, co-host on this session with me, and it's Shay. I'll pass it over to her to introduce herself.
Hi everybody, my name is Shayla McKay. I'm a recent graduate of Georgian College from the Social Service Worker Program. I'm currently at the CICAN intern at the Center for Changemaking Social Innovation, and I have the opportunity to work with Ellie at Senko as a project assistant on the Community Benefit Purchasing Project. I am from Fort William First Nations in Anishinaabe. I grew up on the traditional land of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation in Owen Sound, Ontario, and I think that gives me a pretty unique experience.
Thanks, Shay. We included just a few Zoom keeping details. I know folks are pretty comfortable with Zoom. Feel free to put your name in your profile so folks can connect with you and they know who you are. We're asking you to keep your microphone muted during this presentation. You can also keep your video off for the stream and other Zoom stuff. We don't have any breakout rooms in this session. Feel free to use the chat box. We will monitor it, so you can add questions there. Shay and I will keep our eyes on it, and we'll ensure by the end of the session we get to any questions. And we're going to be using a Google Map, so we will provide you with a link throughout the presentation so that you can follow along on potentially two screens, the Zoom and the Google Map. So today's session is the second session that Senko is putting on this week. So you can see here it's highlighted in the middle. Maybe you had a chance to participate in the Tuesday session. And if you did, great. If you're interested to learn more about social procurement and some of the work we're doing at Senko out of the college in partnership with the college, tune in on Friday for our social procurement panel hosted by Jenna Stefanato, who you met at the start, and Shay and I will both be there. So this is the description of today's session. So you're joining us at Senko to explore the impact social enterprise is having in Central Ontario and how each initiative is supporting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So it's a 1-hour session, and we're going to be looking at the federal government's Investment Readiness Program and how they invested $50 million into social enterprise across the country. So that's where we're headed. The agenda for this session is, so what is Senko? Maybe you're joining today and you don't know what Senko is, so we'll let you know what is Senko. And what's the IRP? We'll get into that as well, so you have some context. And then we're going to be mapping by SDG, looking at 3 goals and a handful of initiatives. We'll have a discussion, Q&A at the end, and we'll give you a reminder of upcoming sessions. So what is Senko? Well, Senko is a strategic initiative at the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation at Georgian College. So this is a really nice diagram that shows you where Senko is located there in that bottom left corner. And if you're interested to learn more, feel free to reach out to those at the center. And there's tons of information this week that you can dive into. So you can also check out Senko has its own site, which is senko.io. So you can learn more online. Yeah, and you can see here the heading image, Roots Senko at Georgian and at the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation. Senko is focused on inspiring, connecting, and equipping those to engage in social enterprise, to face cultural, environmental, and social challenges in our region. And we define our region as Central Ontario. Once again, here is the landing page, and as you dive into the site, you can learn more about who's involved with Senko, opportunities available, and then stories. And the stories tab on the site is a really great resource, and we're actually going to dive into some of these videos today. So we have a series of 1-minute videos that showcase social enterprise across the region. So we will get into those in this session. Another amazing discovery on the Senko site under stories is the audio documentary. So Senko created a 2-part audio documentary, and it dives into social enterprise in this region, as well as looking at provincial and national experts. It's really amazing. I encourage you to check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcast. And Jenna and the team are actually working on the third episode. So it's going to be exciting. So a big part of our work at Senko is working in community, engaging others across the region to support social enterprise development. And this map, I know you can't read all the details there, but you can also find it on the Senko site. So Senko has 63 committed members. So these are meaningful collaborative relations that we've created, and we call them SEDGs, which is another acronym for social enterprise sector development groups. And Senko's been meeting with these folks for a couple of years now, and what's important to note is there's others across our region who understand social enterprise and are committed to supporting social enterprise. So that's the brief overview on what Senko is all about. So we've tied this session to Senko, to the IRP, and to the SDGs, 3 acronyms. So moving on to the next acronym, what is the Investment Readiness Program, or the IRP? So, it's a new $50 million fund with the aim to support social purpose organizations, which is a bit of a wider spectrum. Social enterprise falls within that. And you can see here on this slide, they've listed charities, nonprofits, and so forth. And the Government of Canada is a part of a broader investment in social finance through the Social Finance Fund. So there was a commitment in 2018 of $755 million. And this is the earliest stage rollout of those funds. So obviously this was pre-COVID, so lots is to be determined, but the initial phase has already begun. So you can see here in the square, the support partners of the first rollout of these funds through the Investment Readiness Program include a handful of amazing initiatives across Canada. And one of them is the Community Foundations of Canada, CFC. So of this first $50 million, $22 million of that, the Community Foundation of Canada is responsible to roll out. And what CFC essentially did was engage across the country to establish regional partners to work with. So there's 24 regional partners across Canada working on this project to roll out these funds. And Senko partnered with Grey Bruce Community Foundation to support the whole region of Central Ontario. Senko is the knowledge expert, and Grey Bruce Community Foundation is the regional anchor for the rollout of funds for Central Ontario. And we've been working together throughout the last year. So how this project works, it actually has closed. There's been 2 rounds and they just closed. So the program allows applicants to apply for $10,000 to $100,000 a project that is essentially a development project that would lead them towards future investment to become investment ready, essentially looking at social enterprise. So these results are now open and live, so we're sharing them with you. You can take a look at the investment readiness program website. They have their whole website live. You can look at every project that's been funded in the first round across Canada and read a short blurb about that project. So when we look at Central Ontario, those that applied in our region, there was 38 applications for the first round, and you can see the quick stats there on the left. So a real mix of different structures of organizations and an average ask of $66,000. So the committee moved through the full review of all applicants, and 10 were awarded, which is really exciting, for a total of $413,841 across Central Ontario. And so that's round one. And round two, the review is underway, and those who will be awarded should be announced before the end of the year, and funds will flow early next year. So what's really neat about this project is social enterprises have been popping up all across Canada and even within our region, and we're getting to know more about the amazing work underway. So what we are going to do next is we're essentially going to go through this amazing map that Shay's created, and we're going to look at the social enterprises in our region. And the way that we've organized these social enterprises is by sustainable development goals. Perhaps folks on the call have participated in another session. There's many other sessions tied to the SDGs, so this might be familiar. And if it's not familiar, you can check out there's a website, it's just on there, goes through all the goals. You can learn more about all the SDGs. There's tons of information there. So what we're going to do is we're going to share the link in the chat. So I think Shay is going to do that. And what you can do is you can actually click on this link. We're still going to guide you through it, but we wanted you to have the opportunity to click on it as well and learn as you go. So stay with us here on Zoom, because we're going to have info and videos on Zoom, but also check out the map. And with this, I believe we will pass it. I'm going to pass it over in 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Shay in 1 second. I'm going to introduce our first goal. And so goal 8, decent work and sustainable economic growth. So the description for this is promote sustained, inclusive, sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. So amazing goal. And when we look at our region, we have 4 organizations we're going to showcase today that are doing amazing social enterprise work under this goal. And so now I'm passing it over to Shay.
All right, I'm just gonna share my screen.
Looks great. We can't hear you. Yay.
I muted myself. There we go.
Perfect.
Hopefully everybody can see that. Oh, that's working. The view that I have on right now is that is all of the organizations that Ellie was talking about. It kind of is, you can go through and look at all of them. If you'd like, we can uncheck that layer and we'll take a look at goal 8, which are the organizations that Ellie was talking about that are really diving into economic, decent work and sustainable growth. We can start with like the Dufferin Board of Trade. They just started a Biz Hub, the Dufferin Biz Hub, which is a professional shared space. We can click here. It's designed to help small businesses and entrepreneurs connect with the community. And you can rent out an office space and use them as your mailing service, that kind of thing. And you can also advertise there. If we look at community builders, they're another organization in our area in Barrie. As we click here, we can go into those videos that Ellie had mentioned before that Senko had done. It's about a 1-minute clip that gives you a good idea of what community builders is up to.
think the work that we're doing when we're connecting community and bringing purpose to what we do is changing lives. A long time ago, I was working with sometimes for any boss who's also a friend. It's a lot of emotional stuff that I want to do to help you, right? We can do that for other people. Just give it a shot. You can get back into working and get back to what you're doing in society. It's very important. Everything you do has an impact. So where you're spending your dollars, how you're treating your employees and the environment, everything.
Shay, you might have to turn your volume up a little bit there, maybe for the next one.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Really, you're muted too.
Oh, you might need to pull the headphones so people can hear.
Okay.
Technical details, but we will get that sorted, folks, and you can always check that video out on your own after.
Yeah, this Google Map is live for the public, so you can always check back in on the map, and I can update it, and you can see the more information that's coming out. If we go to Operation Grow, which is based in Midland, they're a community hub that's combining vertical farming, a commercial kitchen, yoga, meditation hall, and meeting rooms. All of these are aspects that are part of a social enterprise that serve women and are designed to support women and build resilience and skills. And we also have a little video about them, and here I'll unplug and hopefully this.
How do you contemplate going to work when your whole life has been violence and shame? When we envisioned Operation Grow, the women we serve were at the center of that vision, and we wanted a downtown location where the women who have been most impacted by violence have a place to come. Everything about this program is about self-determination. You can come in, you can go to use the kitchen, you can learn how to farm, you can take meditation classes, you can take trauma-informed yoga. So we have an indoor vertical farm. We're able to grow produce hydroponically, and it's really neat because they're actually grown in a matrix media that's made out of recycled water bottles. We knew that we had to have a sustainable business model in order to let the social programs thrive. And if we want to keep the social programs growing and we want to make a big impact in the lives of women, we have to have a business that works. We believe Operation Grow will give people an opportunity to end poverty, and that's pretty profound.
As you can see, like they're making a pretty good, big difference. I'm just gonna check the chat to make sure it's working. Okay, awesome. We can, as we move into like Hanover, which is a launch pad that they focus on youth activity and training and technology. They work with skill development. They were recently awarded through the IRP as well, and we were able to get a quick video with them too, which is awesome.
Launchpad was created because of a drug problem in our rural community. And when the community came together, Launchpad was decided to be a way to stop youth from falling into that trap. We're a trades-based training center. We teach classes, after-school programs in welding, in woodworking, in culinary, in technology, and we even have an art space. We're really trying to teach youth the skills through our after-school programs that will fill the jobs in our local rural communities. We want our youth to be confident and contributing members of our community, and so teaching the values of social enterprise does just that.
You can see like all the youth in the video have the impact that they're already making, just the good times kind of thing. So they're not for profit. The one co-op that we have that's working in our region that's working on decent work in sustainable economic growth is Fourth Peg Green and Natural Construction. They are a nonprofit worker co-op, and their mission is to focus on ecological balanced methods of construction and energy production so that they can promote sustainable and healthy communities. You can take a look at their video as well.
There's absolutely no reason today why we shouldn't be building homes that help mitigate climate change, are resilient to climate change, that have good indoor air quality, that have positive impacts on our community. So we started the Fourth Peg because we wanted to transform the way people think about their shelters, relate to their shelters, and how we build our buildings. We build homes and spaces that are safe and healthy for us, for the environment, for ecosystems, and for the climate. But we also wanted to participate in the economy in a different way as well. We decided to incorporate as a non-share capital worker co-op. It's important for us to be providing good jobs and opportunities for people to have democratic influence over their work, and to be able to also be working towards providing affordable housing, because everybody deserves safe, healthy shelter. We want to help transform the economy into a solidarity economy and participate in the communities that we work in.
Melinda is a name that you'll probably hear again through the presentation because she's pretty involved within social enterprise and these different organizations that are doing good work in our communities. If we unclick goal 8, I'm going to go hand it back to Ellie to introduce goal 11.
Awesome. Thanks, Shay. So inspiring, those videos. I just love them. When we were mapping out the different organizations, it was clear to us that different organizations actually could have fit under different goals. So it's important to note that some of those organizations could have actually fit under goal 11 that we're going to get into in goal 13. So we've organized them in one way, but it's important to know that their impact is actually quite wide. So as we dive into some organizations in goal 11 is sustainable cities and communities. And the description is make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So we have 4 organizations we're going to look at who are really focused on doing this type of work. So here they are, and I'll pass it back to Shay to jump on the map.
All right, so if we click on goal 11 there, we can look that we have registered charities and nonprofit organizations. You can kind of zoom into Barry here to take a look at what's going on. We have both Redwood Park community and the Common Roof. The Common Roof is a community-based social enterprise that provides sustainable and professional workspaces for nonprofit agencies and small businesses and social entrepreneurs. Their mission is to build healthy, growing communities for children, youth, and families. Senko was also able to get a video with Common Roof, which is incredible because they're really awesome little insights into these organizations.
Not-for-profit charitable organizations were frustrated about paying lots of money for rental space that they had no control over. So they met around a kitchen table, they had a conversation and said, what could we do differently and how could we work together, which spawned the Common Roof. The Common Roof is a shared space facility that brings organizations together, either not-for-profit or for-profit.
എന്റെ ചങ്കം കൂടെ
And the
ഞാൻ
benefit
കരിയരുത്
is that because we are working together, we
Yeah,
can,
that's
as well as we can share costs, which means more money can be put back into the community. In a rural community like Aurelia, the choice to place the common roof in an underserviced area creates the potential for future growth and development.
As he mentioned at the end of the video there, being in Aurelia, so the Common Roof actually has 3 locations. They have one here in Barrie, they have a location in Aurelia, and one in Collingwood as well. And Redwood Park Communities is another organization that we know about in our community that's working towards sustainable cities. And for this organization, we actually had part of our audio documentary that goes along with it. So we'll be able to play that clip for you. I'm gonna play the clip for you.
Rethinking buildings, how they can be used or how their organization can be reimagined, is a crucial step towards maintaining innovative and engaging municipalities, townships, and communities. But in the larger regions of Central Ontario, empty buildings aren't the only issue. With low interest rates, rising home prices have also driven up rental markets. And despite unemployment rates being at a near record low, the wages earned in this seemingly...
Oh no, sorry guys. Technical problem there. Clicked out of it.
Debated the housing crisis across cities and towns in Canada, the root of the problem can be traced back even further to 1993, when the federal government froze funding to public housing and reduced the social funds made available to provinces. When the onus for public housing was transferred to the provinces in 1994, only Quebec and British Columbia developed provincial policies. All the other provinces and territories chose to transfer the public housing authority to municipalities.
This seems to have been a huge mistake, and according to the Canadian Observatory on Homelessness, it was. Their report states the 1993 decision resulted in a drastic reduction in the amount of affordable housing available and can be linked very directly to an increase in homelessness across the country.
In 2017, the federal government announced a plan called the National Housing Strategy, and it pledged to spend $40 billion over the next 10 years to address the problem of inadequate housing and homelessness. But the results of this plan are still to be seen. In the meantime, since 1994, municipalities, when they have attempted to deal with the issue, have relied on a combination of charity, not-for-profits, and petitions for the allocation of provincial funding to help solve the problem of homelessness within their own communities. In the fall of last year, we visited a closed-down motel in Barrie, Ontario. At the time, there were tall skids of lumber piled up near the entrance, and the former motel rooms have been completely gutted back to the studs.
Putting this new beam and overhang, and then we're about to pour this curb on Thursday morning.
Barrie is a city with a population over 141,000. It's located about an hour outside of Toronto on the west shore of Lake Simcoe. And as of June 2019, it's the 4th most expensive rental market in Canada. It's not just bad for renters. In an article published by TVO, the affordability threshold for Barrie, which is the recommended maximum house price for a person earning the average local income, is $428,500. The average house in Barrie costs $604,000, nearly $200,000 more than the affordability threshold. In 2015, the city set a goal to build 840 affordable housing units by 2024. The conversion of the old motel was presented as a cost-effective way of reaching that goal, but they needed someone to build it.
Yeah, I'm Timothy Kent.
Okay, hi, I'm Brandon Day.
And we are in our shop at Community Builders out in Midhurst, Ontario.
Yeah, we are a social enterprise construction company, and we try to concern ourselves with affordable housing as well as meaningful, purposeful employment and training.
Community Builders is a social enterprise that operates as a wing of a registered charity called Redwood Park Communities. And like other charities we've heard from, they were also exploring ways to fortify their funding base.
We always operated from a social enterprise mindset. Like we never operated ever as a regular mindset of sort of an old school charity, you would think, where they're relying on government funding or relying on donations or whatever. We always kind of looked at it right from the very beginning. How can we make this sustainable? And in order to do that, we need to make use of some of the regular market tools that are out there. And we just kind of thought, hey, what if we sort of like created or formalized, I guess, this idea of a construction company that could do some of these builds that we were working on for the affordable housing, but also do things in the community at a market rate that we could then pour some of those funds back into more affordable housing.
By building houses at market rates and diverting the access funds back towards the charity projects, they're able to sustainably pursue their charitable goals of creating more affordable housing units. But eventually, they also discovered a ripple effect of working within the communities they were servicing. This is actually another common thread in social enterprises. Additional social good happens, sometimes unexpectedly, through the work.
And as we went along, and some of the individuals that we started to work with and hire that had barriers to employment, and it wasn't necessarily on purpose at the beginning, we realized what a great opportunity to start training and working with individuals that have barriers to employment and training them up in the construction trades and either helping them continue to work along with us or get a job somewhere else that's well paying and help them work themselves, I guess, in a way, out of their own poverty or their own inability to get a job somewhere and be work ready and ready to go. And so we started pouring our time and effort into deliberately seeking out individuals that had barriers to getting jobs somewhere and hiring them and training them and working alongside them.
Okay, I feel like we should pause here for a second and get into some detail about affordable housing and homelessness, because it merits a little time. Shelter is a basic human need. We can't do work on poverty reduction without also doing work on housing. There are many versions of solutions to deal with the crisis of homelessness. Even though Community Builders supports people with barriers to employment find a way back into the workforce, they are firmly in favor of a housing first model of addressing homelessness. Housing first is exactly what it sounds.
I think if we can stop here, you guys have a good idea of their organization. Get back out of here. But like I've said, this map is live and all of those videos are there for you guys to watch at any point, and they're also on the Senko site. That one is part of the audio documentary. And if you may have recognized her voice, the host of our audio documentary is the Jenna Stevanato, who introduced us at the beginning there. Back out of this one, we can take a look at Streams Community Hub, which is operating just in Shelburne kind of area there. They have recently received the support to create a creative hub, and they are just up and running. But they are one of the IRP recipients from the first round. So those are the three, there's one more, sorry. There's 4 organizations. Harmony Center and Own Sound is also, was part of our audio documentary. I won't play the whole clip for you, but it is there. I want to show just who we're talking about here. Colleen Seaman, and Lee Graves, who are the chair and vice chair of the Harmony Center, which is a social enterprise in Owen Sound. They're also a office sharing space. They rent out their rental space for market. value. I'm going to pass back off to Ellie here to introduce goal 13.
Thanks, Shay. So many amazing stories there, audio and video. It's really inspiring. So we are going to look at some organizations who are focused on goal 13 now, which is climate action. So climate action is described, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. So there are 3 organizations we're going to share some clips from so that you can get a sense of organizations in Central Ontario supporting this goal.
So if I check off the goal 13 there, we can take a look at the organizations that are supporting the goal. Up here we have Took a Tree Passive Homes, and as I mentioned, Melinda is also involved in this organization. They are looking to increase their ability to manage large and precious finished goods. They work along the same lines as Fourth Pig Co-op in creating sustainable homes. We also have Glassworks Co-op in Owen Sound, which is working towards developing affordable and sustainable community housing for low-income seniors, students, and families. And they also wish to be a community space for organizations, local artists, food producers, that kind of thing. They have a beautiful website that you can go and check out. And I forgot to mention, they were also a recipient of the our IRP, along with the Bagdawat Alliance, and Jenna was nice enough to do a audio clip for us for this organization as well. They received the IRP funding to offer a trailer to rent for families and small groups. That was pre-COVID. You can check in on them to see kind of what they're up to.
Food scarcity can arise for a number of reasons. Sometimes they are geographical, sometimes economical, and more often they arise because of environmental factors.
15 years ago, they kind of estimate that they got out on the lake 5 days a week on average, and it's down to about 2 days a week on average. They used to go up to about 10 knots of wind, and now they go up to 20 knots of wind. So it's much more dangerous to be on the lake. The swells are bigger. They get bounced around a lot more. They're dealing with tricky things to do anyway, let alone having even bigger waves and less stability in the boat. And also, like all these temperature shifts, and the storms come in faster. So, like, one thing Natasha talks about is when, like, you look at a weather report, and then by the time they get out there, everything's changed, and it's not really accurate. So they can't rely on a weather, like on a marine report, in order to go out anymore.
You're listening to Victoria Serda and Natasha Akawenzi of the Bagdawat Alliance.
The Bagdawat Alliance was formed by the fishers here in Nashingaming because they were seeing a lot of changes on the water, and they wanted to be able to do something more proactively about it. The changes have been ongoing, but been a lot worse in the last 15 years.
We hear a lot about climate change and the disastrous effects it will have on the planet. But I think the thing that fails to get mentioned enough, and what Victoria and Natasha highlighted for us during our talk, is how interconnected our ecosystems are. How a seemingly subtle shift in environmental temperature will ripple through entire networks of plants, animals, and people. Take ice formation as just one of many examples.
So it seems like a very simple equation, but very blunt. Also, they're seeing that there's no more ice, or very little ice. There's been a number of years, over the last 10 years, that they've been able to fish all year, which is abnormal for Georgian Bay or Lake Huron. There's also a lot more evaporation, and you hear of all the snow squalls and snow days up here, which the kids love, but practicality is it's not good. So we're seeing all these issues happening, and it's happening more quickly. This year, they almost set a record for the amount of snow days that the kids had. And that's becoming normal.
It's a bit counterintuitive, but our winters can be snowier because the planet is warming.
Yes, well, because there's a lot more evaporation, which turns, with the wind, turns it into snow and snow squalls and really strange and weird and wonderful weather. Right now, we're working on collecting the interviews from fishermen in the community and fishing families. This morning, we just talked to a fisherman's wife. This Wednesday, we'll be talking to fishermen about the changes that they're seeing, to document it for a book and a documentary that we're doing that's been funded through the Ontario Arts Council.
Their goal is to record the verbal accounts of fishermen who have been on the lakes through generations and track the changes they've been witnessing.
And it was important to everyone to be able to keep track of that history. But it's more and more people are understanding that Indigenous knowledge can really work really well with academic knowledge in order to be able to do planning, because it's a very similar form of science. You still have a hypothesis. You observe things over time, you record them, and you come to conclusions. Like the fishers are doing the same thing, but just not in an academic kind of situation. And so when we listen to their wisdom from having done this so much time, they know a lot of things that those of us that are on land all the time do not know. And they can document them in their mind, and they can tell you trends and be able to see those patterns that are really good for us to understand. I've been doing climate change presentations and about global warming since the 80s, but I didn't understand what was happening on the lakes until I started listening to the fishers talking about what's going on.
The social enterprise aspect of the Bag to Watt Alliance came about when they started to see different ways of addressing their concerns over climate change and how it was affecting the lakes, the fish, and their way of life. Since then, they've been devising creative ways to disseminate the broad range of knowledge that one gains from generations working on the water and try to offset the lost wages caused by the changing environment. As well as their environmental education workshops, they also lead immersive retreats with culinary students that can get pretty intense.
We've been kind of nicknaming it at the boot camp, because they went home incredibly tired. I think mentally, spiritually, physically, definitely physically. But we got them to work on our farm. We have chickens and pigs and horses and goats, and they help clean up, and that was a new experience for them. They were culinary students. They have a brand new understanding of the work that it takes to get an egg, the amount of work it is to tend to animals. It doesn't matter if it's raining or snowing or too hot out. You have to get out there and do it. So they have a brand new understanding of food and where it comes from and the amount of work. So there's a lot of discussion about the economics of food.
Natasha and Victoria have also arranged fish filleting contests between fishermen and celebrity chefs, net seaming workshops at schools and community centers, shoreline cleanups, and crafting and chatting evenings.
I think our unique angle as a social enterprise is that we are trying to connect people to being part of the ecosystem, not separate from it, and to see it in a different way. It's not an easy thing to do, and it takes a lot of angles and a lot of strategies and a lot of planning in order to figure out the best ways to help people to really connect back to the earth, to the water, and to being good stewards of all of those things.
We were lucky enough to get all of that footage and all of those images from the Bag to Watt Alliance. As they do their tobacco tie every day, they go out to the water and they take a video or a photo and they send it off. So if you can follow them on Twitter and on their Facebook page to get those updates. I'm going to send back to Ellie now because we've been able to look through all of the different goals and uncheck and hit all of our organizations again, and then get back to Ellie.
Thanks so much, Shay. So that brings us to the end of our planned presentation for everybody on the call. we wanted to open it up for any questions, any thoughts that you might have had now. I think we had a chance to see some really inspiring videos. Hopefully this has been a chance for you to learn about a whole bunch of social enterprises in our region. Is there any questions? We can't guarantee we can answer every question about every organization, but if anybody on the call has a specific question, either regarding our presentation today or any social enterprise that was featured, feel free to add it to the chat and we will respond. Okay, it's been really interesting. Do they hire professionals? So maybe Sandra, who when you're referring to they,